welcome to Scene 10 of Black Tower Tales, following Nyx and Wiggins' Shadow Cloak. Um, Last time, my name's Body, and I'll be your player dungeon master for today. Last time, when we last left our intrepid adventurers, they had begun exploring a dungeon beneath a small castle in the wilderness. They had gone through some tunnels in the dungeon, overcoming a 60-foot pit that was in their way, to find a magical portal in one of the walls of the dungeon, in one of the walls of the dungeon hallway, that led to another room that had a couple skeletons in it that they then dispatched. At this point, for the start of scene 10, my thinking is that now we get to find out what is the nature of this room, what else is in it. But first, we need to find out if the scene is interrupted or anything because this is the expected scene. We test the expected scene before going into it. We have Chaos 4 and Target 13. So, we have a 2. So this is the first time we've gotten an altered or an interrupt scene. So, because we rolled less than our chaos factor of 4, we adjust the expected scene. Because it's an even, we have an interrupt scene. So basically what happens when they finally are finished dispatching the skeletons is now we roll a random event with our Mythic GM emulator. So first thing is to find the random event focus. On a D100 we have 73, which comes back as PC negative. Okay. And we're going to figure out which PC is negative from. So we're going to say high is Wiggins. So it's negative towards Wiggins. And now we get to figure out what is the nature of this PC negative event. For that, we roll again on these actions and descriptions tables provided by the Mythic GM emulator. So we're going to roll here on action table 1. So 47. PC negative, guide. $83 on descriptor table 1. Guide positively. Okay. So yeah, I think I've got this idea in my head. This is PC negative, guide positively. So that says to me, the way my brain worked through it was like, guide has something to do with them getting lost in this dungeon. Like, guide is their ability to find their way to where they're trying to get out. And positively means some positive action that you would need to take to get out. And because it's PC negative, they now don't have the option to take whatever action it is to be able to get out. And for that, what I see is after they come through the portal, they turn around and it's just a blank wall. There's no exit to this dungeon going back the way that they just came. So that's what I see in this random event. So what essentially it's something that happened after they already went through and while they were fighting the skeletons. But basically they went through the doorway or the portal, and now the portal's gone. Like they turn around, they press against the wall because they didn't move too far while they were fighting the skeletons, but they turn around and they're like, oh wow, what the hell? We can't get out. We're trapped down here. They don't even know how deep they are. They don't have any idea where the exit might be or anything like that. So that's pretty freaky, I think. I would be like, to that end, I think they're starting to get a little anxious about You know, wait, what the hell is going on? How many rations do we actually have? Things like that. But now we have our 6012s that we need to use to figure out what is in this room. We know it's a 30 by 90 room with 2 doorways on the far wall, but here we get to figure out what else is in it. So this is a standard room. We have, for the black die, a 3. That's not going to be anything. A blue die, we have a 6. That's also nothing. White is a 10, so there's some sort of feature in this room. Okay. Some sort of window dressing. The model die is a 1, so that's nothing. Whoops. The yellow die is a 3, so there's no treasure. And the clear die is a 10, so there's another random event in this room. And I'm going to say that random event is something that happens as they're investigating the room, basically as they're discovering what this feature is going to be. So now we need to bring out the Solo's Adventurers Toolbox again to figure out the features that we generated in this room. So we have wilderness features, and that's more wilderness. And I think there's dungeon features somewhere. Yes, here we go. So we have this D100 table to roll on for these dungeon features. So what is in this room? That's cocked. 73. So there are stairs. Okay. So we know that there are some stairs. There's 2 doorways here, but I'm going to say that there's also a set of stairs here just in the middle of the room going... Are they going up or are they going down? I'm going to say high, low, obviously up, down. So they're actually going down. So there's only 2 doors leaving the room. But in the center of the room, in between the 2 doors, there's a spiral stairwell going down. And yeah, aside from that, we need to figure out what is the nature of this room. Let's see if we can't find anything relatively quickly here. Random dungeons. Here we go. Here we go. That is one thing that is interesting about playing solo, is like you often have to jump back and forth referencing a bunch of different things. So in the room, we already rolled the room and we know what's in it. So we had level appropriate deadly encounter, loot 45%, clue 75%. And so we have 45% chance of loot. 53, so there's no loot. And 75% chance of a clue. Oh, wow, 0-1. So not only that, but we have a big clue. A clue that's going to tell us about what's going on in this dungeon. Give us some sort of insight. 82. So the clue we see here is the shrunken head of a kobold. All right, so what that says to me is that this is sort of another entryway into, like, there's not a whole lot in this room. We've got the shrunken head of the kobold that says to me that there's some sort of ritualistic magic going on in this area, and that's why I think the skeletons are here as well. Actually, I think this is a good opportunity to roll something on the Mythic fate chart. Are all these skeletons kobold skeletons? Like, At previous up to now, we've just said, oh, they're skeletons, but maybe upon seeing the shrunken kobold head, we find that, oh wait, these are all kobold skeletons. Maybe they're just larger kobolds than maybe we're used to. So I think that's something that's likely. I like that possibility, and so I think that's likely. And so basically we have a 50% chance. 77, that's a double, so that's another random event. But no, so all the skeletons have not been kobold skeletons. And I think, I don't know, I'm not sure how I feel about the prospect of cascading random events. Because we already generated a random event coming from the scene, coming from the 60-12 chart, but we'll see how it goes. But anyways, the description of the room that I have in my head is like, there's random like tribal accoutrement basically around the room, like some sort of, I'm thinking of, there's that dungeon that has poison gas in it. That's not a very good descriptor. One of the dungeons underneath the big inn in that one D&D book. But basically, like, it's like a tribal thing where there's these drums and shields and spears and stuff all around the room, and these like totem pole type things that this area, where they were teleported through the portal might not even be in the same area. That's the interesting thing. We thought it was in the same dungeon, but who knows? Maybe it's not. And now we figure out the random event that's going on. So we have the shrunken head of the kobold, and the random event comes from figuring out, okay, figuring out the random event focus again. 35, that's going to say it's an NPC action. So, all right. So the NPC action, we are going to figure out who the NPC is eventually, although we don't have too many options. NPC action, and now the NPCs we have are Nyx's sister, Wiggins' dad, the bounty hunters, the miner, and the surveying party. So I think Wiggins' dad, we can rule that out, but we can say, well, the evil sister also is sort of within the bounty hunters. We'll just go. We have D5. Yeah, we have 5 different options there, and we'll just go with that. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So something happens. Wiggins' dad does something. Okay. NPC action. Okay, so now we have action and descriptor for this. And 99, all right. That's usurp. And then the descriptor for this action is 87. Quietly. Usurp quietly. Okay, so I like that. That's kind of neat. So one of the things about the Mythic generator is not all random events and not all things that have to happen have to be pertinent to the scene that you're actually in. I generally don't have this happen too often, but the thing that makes sense to me with being an NPC action that's Wiggins' dad, and getting usurp quietly as the action and descriptor, that says to me that at some point, maybe even right about now, a day after, Wiggins' dad, after finding out that the bounty hunters had taken all of his stuff when they arrested him, took his the dagger wand or the stiletto wand. I think basically Wiggins' dad has some sort of stealth skills. He's who knows how old he is, but he was some sort of adventurer back in the day, and he basically snuck into the camp of the bounty hunters and was able to get out with Wiggins' stuff. So we, as DMs and as sort of observers, we know that that's happened. It doesn't really help them in this scenario. We don't even know if they're still on the same continent. But if Wiggins ever makes his way back to town, or the dad catches up to him, or something like that, then this is something that could help. So that's interesting. And now we're still on scene 10, right? Yes. Now we have the second random event. We're just going to make these notes. Chaos 4, target 13. This one, the focus of the event is 73, which is going to be, again, PC negative. Oh, man. High is Wiggins. Okay, so it's, again, something bad happens to Wiggins. That's not in the place where it needs to be. 60. We're going to go action 2. This is going to be normal. And then descriptor table 2. That's cocked. 71. Normal pale. So, normal pale on an NPC negative action. Random event. It's not an action. So I think what would make Wiggins pale? I think he's spooked out really a lot. I think he's really spooked out by this shrunken kobold head. I think he's fine with skeletons or whatever, but there's something really off-putting about the shrunken kobold head that's freaking him out. So I think he is, for now, he's looking like he's going to be, basically he's frightened of something. Like this, the sort of tribal nature of this dungeon and like the kobold shrunken head in particular is just like giving him the creeps. And I think, how is that going to affect him mechanically? So since it's PC negative, I mean, we could do something disadvantage-wise, like giving him a negative. I think we want to give him some sort of negative. But I like the idea of... Yeah, I think he just gets a negative. He has basically disadvantage on anything wisdom related. And I'm going to say that goes for as long as they're in this dungeon, or as long as they haven't figured out, and resolved whatever it is that would make him frightened of this dungeon. Hey, get back over here. All right. So, as far as actions goes, I think that they searched the room. We found out some other stuff as far as random events, and we know now that Wiggins is, maybe he's just. I like that idea. I like the idea that Wiggins is sort of just freaked out by wisdom-based magic in general. Because in ICRPG, there's intelligence magic and wisdom magic, and I think the wisdom magic is just so foreign to Wiggins, and he doesn't understand it, and so it's something that he gets sketched out a little by. But I think that's a good place to end the scene, actually. I know like the setup of this scene and the previous scene are kind of weird, because in retrospect, ending the scene at the end of the combat didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it felt to me like the scene was getting a little long already, and I didn't want to, like, it would have been another 20-30 minutes here, just rolling it all into one. But I think we're doing fine just here, and I think that's going to end the scene. We have not really any change to cast or threads. Oh, we could add a thread to Wiggins' dad and his stuff. Now, Wiggins doesn't know that, but the dad knows that, and he could potentially come into play later on if he tries to catch up to these two. Maybe track their movements and location. And yeah, that's going to be the end of the scene. Next scene, we have scene 10. Chaos. I think chaos goes up because, you know, we've had like 3 random events in this scene, so that's pretty weird. Target, I think, goes down to 12. But yeah, basically, sort of this scene there wasn't a whole lot of action. They sort of just observed the room, investigated it, and we found out a whole bunch of stuff about the dungeon and about what's happening in the world. So yeah, I think that's pretty good for this scene. We'll see you next time.